The all-new Chevy Blazer rejects tradition in pursuit of style and luxury. Is the trade-off worth it? That's coming up on Driving Sports TV. The design of this new Chevy Blazer was a bit of a shock when it was first revealed. This is a straight-up street crossover now. It even steals some design elements from the Camaro, like these funky aircon controls. It's a bold direction for what should be a utility vehicle. Compared to other vehicles in this class, I'd say the Blazer is an attractive option, even if the name is a bit distracting. The Blazer fits into the large mid-size segment. This is bigger than a 2-row, but not quite large enough for 3 rows. It's smaller than a Toyota Highlander, but bigger than a RAV4. It's even larger than the Ford Edge, if only by 3 inches, but smaller than an Explorer. It's frankly a really odd size. The car we're testing is the fully loaded Premier trim. This includes a 3.6-liter V6 with variable valve timing, a double overhead cam, and direct injection. It also has start-stop to comply with European emissions. Power is decent, hitting 305 horses at 6,600 RPM. Torque is rated at 269 pound-feet at 5,000 RPM. That engine is connected to a 9-speed automatic transmission with manual override buttons. EPA rates this setup with V6 and all-wheel drive at 18 miles to the gallon in the city and 25 on the highway. As you see it here, price is, wait for it, $48,000. Yeah. The Blazer is available in many various trims. The one we're driving today is the top of the line, and it almost goes for $50,000. What you get is a V6 engine with 305 horsepower, an automatic transmission, and you get their deluxe all-wheel drive. This one actually has torque vectoring. Yeah, proper torque vectoring with twin clutches in the back. So it will actually distribute power to help rotate the vehicle, which is something I really love. Because this is a Premier model, it gets a special torque vectoring all-wheel drive system. That is controlled with a dial just behind the transmission selector. The system defaults to front-wheel drive. However, you get a number of additional options, including four-wheel drive tow, off-road, sport, and standard modes. Chevy does not publish the total amount of torque that does go to the rear wheels. That number, not available. I've even requested it. They won't tell me. But based on driving it, I wouldn't expect to be any more than 50% at the most. This does not feel like a rear bias system. However, a lot of journalists are saying it's rear bias without giving any actual numbers. So I wonder, are they just quoting the fact that Chevy says that up to 85% of the available torque can go to the rear outside wheels? That is a tricky, slippery way of saying, I mean, you could have 85% of available torque, but only 25% of torque going to the back. Follow? Since we don't have actual figures, we're going to have to move on. But I would suggest that it's most likely 85% of the available 50% of power that goes to the rear. I think that's probably right in there. Because this isn't a dedicated off-roader, you won't find any rear diff lockers or crawl modes. This one is really focused for the street. If you watched my CX-5 review, I did talk about how crossovers are really fracturing into street and utility-focused branches. This one falls squarely in the street category. Let's see how it does on a canyon road just outside of Los Angeles. So I'm in sport mode, and I'm going to just throttle through. Now, there are no paddle shifters, which is a little bit unfortunate, so you can only have so much interactive fun. Oh, and a brief comment on my finger. This was bitten off by Matt Farah's Countach, which we were filming just yesterday. So apologies. I haven't been able to see a doctor yet. This is just a self-wrapped wound. So it's distracting, I know, but it's a fact of life. We're just going to have to deal with it. And hopefully the wrappings don't come off during this episode. You do not want to see what's under here. This is a biggish vehicle, and you can feel it in the body roll. That's a lot of push through the corner. Let me now apply some throttle and see if it helps with the rotation. Yes, I can feel it on the outside rear wheel, helping me rotate around a little bit. Yeah,
I can feel that. That's actually pretty good. It's not thrilling though, because honestly, the weight is a problem. Nothing's going to handle like a Camaro unless it's a smaller vehicle like a Camaro. However, I mean, I am not driving slow. Okay, let's see, bounce up a little bit. Poosh.
Trunk area boasts 30.5 cubic feet of storage with the second row up. Fold it down for a modest 64.2 cubic feet. The Ford Edge, which is actually a smaller vehicle overall, but does compete in the same space, is roomier with up to 73.4 cubic feet for cargo. The Blazer's aerodynamic design definitely pays a penalty in overall storage capability. Towing capacity is 4,500 pounds. Upper trim models include heavy-duty cooling, hitch guidance, and sway control systems. It may not sound like a lot of towing capability, but it's still 1,000 pounds more than what the Ford Edge ST can tow. The second row fits a full-size adult with plenty of headroom. Passengers can charge their devices with the included AC, USB, and new USB-C sockets. I do love that manufacturers are starting to include these new USB-C sockets, since most of my devices now use this standard, including my cameras. Since this is a premier model, it is loaded with features focused right on the driver. The seats are heated and ventilated, with the driver getting an 8-way power adjustment with memory. The leather treatment continues onto the steering wheel, transmission lever, and armrest. A panoramic sunroof helps keep the cabin bright and airy. The main gauge cluster is replaced with an 8-inch informational display system. This is integrated nicely and features lots of useful data through the wheel-mounted controls. The main infotainment screen is also 8 inches. Here you can control maps, stereo, and if you have an Apple or Android device, they integrate through USB with CarPlay and Android Auto systems. You can also configure the safety systems like lane change alerts, collision mitigation, and blind spot warnings. Of course, the screen doubles as a backup camera with rear cross-traffic alerts. A 360-degree camera view is an option. Beyond the normal use, you can use the screen to set up driver profiles, which includes the teen driver system. Additionally, the speakers do provide active noise cancellation to reduce unwanted NVH in the cabin. It does this automatically with no real settings required. Overall, the infotainment system is well designed and easy to use. I have no complaints here. Aircon can be managed either with the display screen or with physical switches. In fact, the vents double as dials. This is a feature, like I mentioned before, that is lifted directly from the Camaro.
I think the biggest complaint about this vehicle, as far as hitting the mark, is this interior just really isn't $50,000 worth of interior. I mean, this is kind of what I expect on around a $30,000, $40,000 car, to be honest. And this is the top of the line Blazer. So I have to say the interior is a little disappointing. I do kind of like these big knobs, like straight out of the Camaro. I also like the overall design. However, this infotainment system is at 8 inches, not huge. It just doesn't look that big inset here. But it does work pretty good. And right now I'm using Apple Maps, which is, of course, a great setup. Visibility is actually quite good, which is something that you really want in a family crossover. You don't want something where you can like hardly see what's going on around you, you know? It sounds pretty good. Now, the unfortunate thing about this vehicle is if you get the entry-level motor, it's a wheezy little 4-cylinder. It just doesn't have a lot of power. Kind of what the new Blazer is asking for is a high-powered variant. Now, this one does put out 305 horsepower, and that's pretty good. But this is a big-ish vehicle, so, you know, it's not going to be great. Let's go ahead and try a 0 to 60. We'll go ahead and stop completely. I got gear in the back. 3, 2, 1, and go. A little slow to start. 30, 40, 50, and 60. You know, that's reasonably quick, but nothing really special to write home about, I would say. The transmission, it does a good job for daily driving, but for sporty driving, it's just not there. I'm not feeling that direct response that I really want when I put my foot down. It takes a moment for it to go, what? You want me to do something? Oh, okay, I'll do that. Which is kind of disappointing because I'm actually in sport mode. This should be the most extreme, and it's not extreme at all. And the handling characteristics are actually quite good. The only real issue here is really just the weight and the soft suspension. It really creates kind of a floaty, tilty feeling when you're getting into uneven surfaces going around corners. I'm not going to say it's disappointing. I'm just saying I think you could do better. There's also a constant whine from the intake. This is kind of weird.
Overall, this new Blazer is a bit of a curveball. It takes a classic nameplate and points it in a whole new direction. Is that a bad thing? Well, not really. I actually think the Blazer is a fine tag for a street-oriented sporty crossover. However, with Ford's soon-to-be Bronco, it really is unfortunate that we won't get a Bronco versus Blazer shootout. The Bronco is looking to be a rugged utility if all the leaked pictures and patents hold true. We won't know for sure until next year, though. The Blazer, yeah, it's squarely targeting Ford's edge, which is all about the street. Still, the Blazer does add some great features to the segment. The all-wheel drive system is actually rather fun on twisty roads, thanks to proper torque vectoring. I also think it looks pretty great. It is, however, pretty expensive for what you're getting. At the upper trim levels, this is straight-up luxury pricing. For the same money, you can get a loaded Acura RDX or a nicely equipped Audi Q5. Both are slightly smaller, but offer a great deal compared to this Blazer. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. What do you think of this new Blazer? Are you sad that we didn't get an off-road one to compete with the Bronco? Post a comment below. Also, please share and like our videos. We do them just for you, and we are on the road to 100,000 subscribers, and we need your help to make it possible. Oh, and hey, you want to see what my finger looks like now a couple weeks later? Still looking nasty. We'll see you next time.